Good evening and welcome to our weekly question and answer series for Anash.org. The question: can you assemble and disassemble a IKEA high chair on Shabbos? It is basically a plastic seat with four totally separate metal legs that you slide in to the four holes of the seat to assemble it. I actually did not know what it is, but I went down and looked at it, and the answer to this is that there is no problem to taking apart the legs from the top, because it's made to take apart. It's very easy. It's made everybody who wants, and it's easy to do it. Putting it in once you store it. It is made to take out, so you could do it on Shabbos. Yes, but the top, that means the tray, is not made to change, and it's very difficult to change. And that, even if you have one, you have two, you want to change from milchiks and fleishiks, you cannot do that on Shabbos, because that's already not made to take apart, and that's also already to disassemble it. But just to take out the four legs, it is no problem to do on Shabbos. Next question: can I buy stocks in a company that sells Isirei Hanoah, like Chumutz and Pesach, Basa B'cholov, Avodah Zarah, and Ribas? This is a very common question, and there is a big machloikas hachronim. If a person has stocks in a company, if it means that he is basically a shutuf, he's a partner in the company, or no, it's not, he's a partner in the company, he only has a schus he has a share in the income, but it doesn't have anything to do with the company itself. Legally, a person which has shares has no connection to the company itself. Yeah, he has a schus to make, when the company makes money, the shares go up, and he makes money, but he doesn't have any schus. Somebody, for instance, will sue the company, has nothing to do with the person who has stocks, but that's legally. What is the din halachically if you are a shituf or you're not a shituf? Now, a lot of poskim say that although legally you're not considered a partner, but halachically, since you own shares in the company, even though you don't have a schis to say a word, you don't have a schis because you have less, you're a minority, you have less than 50%. So automatically, the people who have 50% of the shares, they have a say in the company, and you have no say in it. But since you have shares in it, you are a shutuf, a partner with the company, and if the company sells a thing which is usher for you to sell, you cannot have shares. And this is a lot of poskim hold like this. The Minchas Yitzchak Chayli Gimel in Siman Aleph, in another place, he brings a lot of poskim which hold that it is as if that you have a partner in it and you cannot have such a shares. The same holds the Minchas Shloime, the Shloime Zalman Auerbach, in the Meir Bransefer in Iskanai Boisim, and a lot of other poskim hold that you cannot have shares in a company which is Isser Hanoah. So therefore, when it comes Pesach, you have to sell all your shares which you have in companies which have Chumutz. And this is what in most of the Shtar Machiras Chumutz, on the contracts to sell the Chumutz, it is like that you write in that you're selling your shares for the Goy. Other poskim, like the Chayshua Eifert, Rav Padva from England, he brings down from Chubin Ruf, which brings down from Friedige poskim, the Mario Alaivi, hold that no, you have no shitfus in the company. You have a schus in the shares, but it's not as if you are a shittev in the company, and therefore, when it comes to ribas, b'chol of chumutz and avodah zarah and etc., there is not a problem. So this is a big machlokes with Achronim Lekan and Lekan. To answer your question, Lemaisa, we as Hasidim of the Rebbe, we are Lubavitcher Hasidim, we know the Rebbe writes in a couple of letters, it is printed in Shulchan Menachem, Chaylik Dalet, Yeredaya, Simach of Ches. The Rebbe holds clearly, like the Poskom, which hold that when you have shares in a company, you are a shitav in the company. So therefore, if you have shares in a company which is Aser Banoah, it is you're selling thing which is Aser Banoah. You cannot have Anoah with your money. So therefore, according to us Chassidim, since the Rebbe holds that you are a shitav in a company, so you cannot have shares in any company which sells chomotz in Pesach, except if you sell it for the goy before Pesach, or which makes basa b'cholov, sells basa b'cholov, or anything which has to do with avodah zura or ribas. You have to make a heter iske, and this is how we have to pasken, because Eiluni Eile Divrei Rabbaini, which the Rebbe holds, it is not permitted to hold shares in a company which is Aser Banoah. Next question. May I buy a bottle of non-kosher wine to give to a non-Jew? The answer is no. The Ramur writes in Yadaisim Kivchov Gimel that although nowadays the non-Jews are not Oved Avodah Zura, they're not Adikim Avodah Zura, and some poskim hold that Stam Yainam, that means wine which comes from a non-Jew, is Mutter B'Hanoah, but the Ramur only is lenient only b'mukim hefset, and this is also the Pesach Shiva brings down the Levish Yisrod, which he has a lematchiz on people which are Michael. So he sees only a lematchiz. It is only a heter b'mukim hefset. So if a person buys things, a closeout, and he finds a bottle which is or a couple of bottles and is a hefset to throw her out, he could sell it. But going and purchasing a bottle of wine, a non-kosher bottle of wine, to give for a non-Jew, that's not considered a hefsed, and therefore it's not permitted to do. If you want to give a bottle of wine, you give a bottle which has a hechsher, but you cannot give stam yainam for a non-Jew. Now, I saw somebody wants to say that today's day you could be more Michael because everything goes through machinery, and therefore a goy doesn't touch it, a non-Jew doesn't touch it. But this is not a easy heter, because today's day, even though it goes everything through machinery, mechanical machinery, but you still have non-Jews tampering with the wine. That's if they want to taste the wine. Yeah, all the wineries, they have people who are tasters, if it's good, if it's not good. So automatically they'll take out wine through a straw or through a keli, and that's called koichoi. And in Yeredaya, Hilchas Yain Nesach, we say that it's koiche asat akapunim if it's not a hefset. So therefore, by hefset is we are Michael but stam yainem bekoiche. But if it's not a hefset, we are machmer. If it's not a big hefset, we are not Michael and stam yainem. So therefore, since it come in contact with a non-Jew by tasting time, so therefore, since it's not a hefset, you cannot go out and purchase non-kosher wine and give it for a non-Jew. Next question. Behemshech, regarding follow-up question from the last week regarding Bishul Akim. You mentioned that a thing which you can eat when it's raw, so then there's no such thing as Bishul Akim, because you can eat it when it's raw. So the question is, does fish need to be Bishul Yisrael? Because raw fish is used nowadays for sushi. The answer to this question is, yes, it needs to be Bishul Yisrael. Because since most people don't eat it raw, raw meat, the raw itself. That means even though there are some people which will not eat raw sushi with raw fish at all, and even though people which will eat sushi with raw fish, they will only eat it when it's mixed together with other stuff. So therefore, we know the Prichudash and other poskim hold that when we think and want to think a thing which is basically you could eat it when it's raw, you have to look on the majority of people. If you have majority of people who eat it raw, then you're right. It is considered you could eat it raw, and it's you don't have a problem of bishul akim. But if majority of people will not eat it raw, and even if they will eat it raw, they won't eat it raw as it is. They'll only eat it when you want to mix it with other stuff. So that's not called, it's nechel chai, and therefore it goes still in to the iser of bishul akim, and it has to be bishul yisrael. Now, if we talk about this raw fish, I just wanted to mention legaba muktzah. We know on Shabbos the halacha is that raw fish is muktzah and raw meat is not muktzah. And Chazal say us why? Because raw fish nobody eats, so therefore since nobody eats, it's muktzah. Raw meat, there are some people which will eat raw meat, so therefore it's not muktzah. Now when it comes in nowadays, when we have a lot of people which will eat raw fish, now although we don't have the majority which will eat raw fish, so when it comes to bishul akim, has to be majority of people. But when it comes to muktzah, since we have people which are basically eating raw fish, so therefore raw fish will not be muktzah nowadays, because it is raw to eat when it's raw. Now of course you cannot make sushi on Shabbos because you have a problem of boina, making a sushi roll. But if a person wants to take raw fish and he wants to make a sushi salad, so then the fish is not muktzah. Or even if he doesn't want to make now a sushi salad, but he has it in the freezer or the refrigerator, and he wants to take something and that's in his way, he could move it, and it's not a problem of muktzah, since people eat raw fish. So the halacha changed, because the whole reason why it was muktzah, because nobody eats it, so automatically that's muktzah. People are maktzeh their das, since nowadays people do eat raw fish, even though not the majority of people will, let's say, eat raw fish, but at least a lot of people will eat raw fish, so it won't be muktzah in nowadays. Next question: do Shabbos candles need to be lit on the table where you eat? No, it does not need to be on the table direct. If you have a small table right next to the table, that's fine, as long as it is where you eat. So this will answer also the second question: do they need to be lit in the room where you're eating? Let's say if it's considered a safety hazardous, the answer is yes, it has to be lit in the room which you eat it, because one of the reasons why you have to light candles, Shabbos candles, is you should have light where you eat. Now even though we have today's day electric light, Chazal, the mitzvah is still over here, we still have the mitzvah, and we have to eat right next to candles. So therefore it doesn't need to be on the table direct, but it has to be in the room which is where you eat. So therefore sometimes you're going to a hotel and they don't want to put the candles in the room where you eat, so they put it outside on the foyer, on the hallway. They put a table with a bunch of candles and nobody eats over there, and you cannot light their Shabbos candles and make a bracha. It's a bracha levatola. If you are in a situation that you have to, you cannot light in the room where you eat, and they give you only the foyer, and you have to light on that table, you have no option, then you should make sure that somebody should sit down right next to that table and eat something. So if somebody eats over there something, that will be fine, and you can make a bracha. But if it's not in the room where nobody eats, and it has light also, so basically you don't have the problem of somebody's going to trip, it's a bracha levatula. So it doesn't have to be on the table direct, but it has to be in the room where you're eating Shabbos meal. Next question. Can one use cold tea or orange juice for Havdalah? The answer is, the Shulchan Aruch writes that you could use for Havdalah Chamar Medina. Now what is Chamar Medina? Chamar Medina means a drink which is a choshev drink, which people will drink, people will sit down and drink. Has a chshivas. So when it comes to beer, of course, all the poskim agree that beer is called Chamar Medina. But even on orange juice or tea, coffee and tea, the poskim write that it is considered Chamar Medina. Now, we have to understand, Chamar Medina is not like Tchila. Befrat nowadays that we have wine. In the Alter Rebbe is stark machmer den yunim. It's not a like Tchila b'chalal. But if a person cannot drink wine or grape juice for health reasons or whatever it should be, and he wants to make Havdalah, he could use coffee or tea and also orange juice. Also orange juice. It could be also, it cannot be apple juice, but it could be orange juice, could be mitz tivi. It cannot be concentrated, but it could be orange juice which is not from concentrated, or grapefruit juice which has a cheshivas to drink on a choshev meal. And this is how I saw an etliche poskim bring down that you could use it for Chamar Medina, but not apple juice or any other juice which is from concentrated. Apple juice, even when it's not from concentrated, it's not considered choshev mashke. But even orange juice, it cannot be from concentrated. Follow-up question: if one has to drive somewhere Motzei Shabbos, can they make Havdalah over wine on Sunday and eat Melav de Malka afterwards? Or is it better to say Havdalah, Motzei Shabbos, and a non-alcohol beverage if it doesn't have grape juice, or he cannot drink grape juice for health reasons? It was answered before that it is better, since Chamar Medina, you could make Havdalah Chamar Medina. If he cannot drink grape juice or wine for health reasons, and he has an option that, let's say, tomorrow he will be able to drink wine. Let's say he took a medication which he cannot drink wine in the next 12 hours. So tomorrow and Sunday morning he could make Havdalah on wine, and if he makes Havdalah at night, he has to drink Chamar Medina. It is rather to make Havdalah Motzei Shabbos on Chamar Medina than wait till Sunday to make our wine, because Motzei Shabbos is the time when you have to make Havdalah. Question: is saying Vayit Lechu on Motzei Shabbos a custom for women in Chabad? Number 2, and does it make sense to say it with your wife, or do we say Ishtuki Guifri? The answer to this is, Lamaise, the minig by a lot of Chabad families, is that you do say it with your wife. The custom is to say it with somebody else, we're makbet to say it with somebody else, and you say it with, you don't have somebody else to say it, you say it with your wife. I heard that the Mashpia in Kvar Chabad, Moshe Parstik, he used to say it always with his wife every Motzei Shabbos. So to answer your question, women should say Vayit Lechu, and you could say it together with your husband. In fakert, why shouldn't you give brachas to your husband and your husband give brachas to you? That's the ideal thing. So therefore, yes, that's the minig, and that's how you should do it. Okay, thank you. We'll stop here, and please join us next week for the next week's shir and some midyash and questions to inbox at Anash.org. Good night and have a wonderful week.